welcome to season 9 of Our Point of View talk show. We are so glad that you could join us on another season of amazing topics and amazing guests. So first, we're going to say hello to all of our returning guests we have with us. Cinta Mickle. Hey, Cinta, how are you?
Hi, everybody.
We have Lynette Jackson. Hello, Miss Lynette.
Hello.
And those two are going to be permanent hosts now. They were guest hosts for the past season. So this season, they're going to be joining us permanently. And we also have with us Mike Shealy from behind the scene. Now he's in front of the camera. And of course, we have the one and only State Representative Derek Jackson. Hi, Derek. Welcome.
How you doing, Our Point of View family?
It's so good to see you again. So how was your summer? You did a lot of traveling this summer.
Yes, but you know, I'm back on it. In fact, I just stepped out of a political fundraiser for a statewide candidate to come in and be with you all. So I'm not in my office, but I'm on site, and we'll talk a little bit more about politics later on in the show.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So today we're going to be talking about current events. And with the events that are going on, we were only able to pick like 2 because we know when we start talking about these 2 topics, it's going to take up a whole hour or then some. So we just want to start off with 2. So we're going to be talking about, of course, the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. We're going to be talking about her and her legacy. And then we're also going to be talking about, like Derek mentioned, a political update. What mainly we're going to be trying to talk about is the student loan forgiveness. So we're going to start out with the passing of Queen Elizabeth. So there are pros and there are cons about this. So we want to try to touch both sides of this story. So Derek, you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, so first off, when you think about Queen Elizabeth, regardless your personal view, you got to think about she reigned for 70 years. 70 years. To do anything, Jacqueline, for 70 years is a long time.
Yes.
And she started when she was only 25, 26 years of age. And although we do not have a monarch system here in the United States, in fact, that's the reason why we formed our independence and became the United States. And we left the British rule over 240 years ago. But you find that during her 70 years, there was a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and there's some turmoil. But with all in all, think about this for a second. To be a world leader, right? It's one thing to be a CEO or chairperson of a Fortune 500 company, but to be a world leader, and at the tender age of 26 and dealing with, anything from military conflict, pandemics, recessions, and things of that nature, and still be able to grow your country and be at the age of 96. That's the other side, right? 96 years of age, and she reigned until the good Lord took her last breath. And so there are a lot of mixed emotions around her passing. There's, if you're from Ireland, you may have a different view. If you're African-American, you may have a different view. And so, when you think about being a leader and dealing with some very tough situations, and you think about our own mortality, right? Because we're all going to have to cross that bridge one day. And someone's going to say, something good, someone going to say something bad. But all in all, Jacqueline, and Our Point of View family, you want to make sure that in every relationship, regardless of your capacity, that you're doing something that where someone meets you or have either encountered your presence, that you left them with a feeling that it was a pleasure and a privilege to meet you. And I learned something according to that point from my beloved late mother. And her thing, Jacqueline, and our point of view family was more than just a golden rule. You know, she always encouraged me to say, she said, Derek, when someone meets you, you're gonna either left a good taste in their mouth or a bad taste. And my goal, Sister Jackson, my goal was always say, I'm trying to leave a good taste in your mouth. And that's in the end what it's all about, are those relationships that we formed along the way, this journey called life, that we did right by everyone. And we're human. It doesn't mean that you will not lose sight of our emotions, depending on that season that you're in. But to do something for 70 years for a country, and you started off at the age of 26 and you did it until 96, there's something to be said about that. And so I, always tell everybody when someone asks me what my thoughts are about Queen Elizabeth, I salute her. To do something that long and to be in the public eye for that long is commendable.
But you know what, Derek, I did some, were you going to say something? Okay, I did a little bit of research too. And actually her her uncle was supposed to be the next king, but he gave it up. So that put her father in the running for it. And then she went off and married her distant cousin. That's what he's her cousin, distant cousin or second cousin. And while they were away, that's when she found out that her father had passed. And he told her that she was now the queen. So had her uncle not given up the throne or decided he didn't want to be a part of it, she may have never been the queen.
That's true. So, circumstances can, I always, in full disclosure, I go to church every Sunday. I love the Lord. I believe in the word that I read in the Bible. And sometimes the good Lord will create a path for you, as he did with David. David had 7 brothers before him, bigger in stature, right? Had all the right elements and ingredients. But those 7 brothers that were before David were not destined to be the king. The good Lord did not want David brothers to be the king. He wanted David to be the king. And so, and some people will complain about that, right? David had 700 wives, right? And he still wasn't satisfied. He wanted Bathsheba, and what he did to get Bathsheba, he had Bathsheba's husband to be placed on the front line in a military conflict. And the poor man lost his life because King David won his wife, right? Listen, so I just say the good Lord had a path for her, and she was the instrument that was selected, and that's it.
So there's basically only one royal family. Like once you become the king or the queen, you're the king or the queen until you die. It's not like only for so many years. It's
so a monarch. It's a monarch system. It's a monarch system. So now King Charles III will be the king until he passed away, and then his son William, Princess Diana. And so now you get into another situation when you get Princess Diana, because she didn't want to really be part of a monarch, but and so that's another dimension in this monarch system, that the royals, there's some dirt in every family. It just seems like the royals, theirs got to be on the public screen, right? And so when Prince Harry married a sister, that created a shockwave. I'm just, we're on our point of view, right? That created a shockwave. That was the first time ever in the history of the monarch for someone of color to be part of that system. And now she done gave birth to some children, right, that now are heirs to that system. Because the other part of the monarch that we don't often talk about is the amount of money that they inherit. I mean, we talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. Those rubies and sapphires and those emeralds, Sunita, that stuff is expensive, right? Even billionaires can't purchase the crown jewel that sat on her head.
That's true. And not to interrupt you, Derek, and I've learned a lot based off what you're saying. I respect her, rest in peace to the Queen, but I have an issue. And my issue is we take on a lot of everybody else's stuff. What I mean by that is we're talking about the Queen and we're talking about everything that she's done, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I guarantee you over in England, they're not talking about us. My issue is we had 9/11 happen how many years ago? She died and it overtook the entire, every channel that wasn't Netflix or a movie that you could click to watch had her face and her life. And again, rest in peace, full respect to her and her family, fine. But we had over 3,000 people to die in 9/11, and we couldn't even have a show about it. Neither did they, okay? Mm-hmm. Neither did they. And I have a real big problem with us doing stuff like that. I think that we take on everybody else's stuff. Ukraine, every time something goes on, we're taking care of them. Not one time did I see even just them do a scroll of all the people who died in 9/11, or just I seen one channel for I think 1 hour to talk about 9/11. That's it. Every channel was talking about the Queen. And like I said, rest in peace. But at the same time, I'm good on hearing it. I've heard enough, and I know that they said in Jamaica, there's 12 days of no partying. There's 10 days of mourning here. There's, and that's them. But I feel like other countries don't give us the same respect. If Obama passed, God forbid, if any one of the presidents, Jimmy Carter, fully respected, he passed away, they would not do what we are doing for them on this side of town. They just wouldn't. And I have a big problem with that. I do. And it really put a salty taste in my mouth when they did not give us the respect or give the dead respect, the people who died in 9/11, the respect of even just giving them some time to just block out everybody and let's just talk about what happened during that time. They even talk about their families and what they're going through and what they will be going. These people, they're millionaires. They got the money. They're reigning. They're going to continue to reign. They're going to continue to do them. And like I said, rest in peace to her. But rest in peace to the over 3,000 people who died too in 9/11. I'm talking about my backyard. I'm not talking about theirs. And I'm just going to keep it at that. So that's how I feel. And you can go against it. I totally understand. But I just think this is just a little bit too much. Every time I'm looking up at the TV, I'm seeing her and her face and her family all the time. And I didn't see anybody who died in 9/11 talking about them and their family.
Yeah, I totally
I don't feel,
Hey, Michael.
I don't feel like it's totally outshadowing 9/11. I think it was just the way that it happened. You know, no one wanted her to die at the same time of the anniversary of 9/11. That's just how God's plan had it to happen. I don't feel like anyone forgot, because me actually working in aviation, we didn't forget. We celebrated. We took a pause, you know, for the 9/11 attack, but it just, you have to go on with the day and what the actual event is like, of like the right now, I guess, you know. So I don't think anyone was trying to belittle the 9/11 victims, but it's just, that's the Queen of England. And like Derek just said, she has a 70-year reign. We're not saying her life and her 70 years is more important than the 3,000 people that lost their lives trying to save those people that were in the planes and whatnot. But it's just about, that was the queen. Let's pay our respects, if that makes sense, you know.
But it's going to be for 10 days. She's not
She's
going to
been
be buried
respected.
until the
She's gotten
19th.
all of our
That's
respect.
their,
It's gonna be on
because that's just their culture.
That's their culture. That's not our culture, though.
But my thing is, though, we don't live in a world that's just about I. We have to live in a world that's that is more unified. So why don't, instead of us looking at this as a problem, oh, we're looking at it as, oh, we have to pay attention to what they're doing. No, let's use it as a learning lesson. Because I personally do think, Lord forbid, if Barack Obama passed away and we aired something for 10 days, that the people in England would pay the same respect. Yeah, he didn't serve for 70 years.
No, they
I,
wouldn't.
I really feel like that would reciprocate that energy.
No, they wouldn't do that. You and I both know that, Derek. You can attest to that one.
But
They
you know
wouldn't
So
do
I will say, when John Lewis passed away, the country mourned longer than when Ted Kennedy passed away. I will say that.
what
right?
country?
When John Lewis passed away, the country mourned longer than
Our
Ted
country,
Kennedy.
right?
United States.
Yeah.
United States.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
United
I'm
States.
saying-
Countries, or other countries doing that.
We're talking
Yeah,
about the
now-
other countries, though.
So you, okay, so, but I guess it depends on how you frame this, right? Because if a world leader passed away, and you mentioned Jimmy Carter, right?
Mhm.
If Jimmy Carter passed away, the world leaders, the respect world leaders get is very different than us. It just it's no different. It's no different than when James Brown, and I'm not trying to make a joke of this, but when James Brown passed away, James Brown changed his clothes 4 times, y'all. When he was dead, they had James Brown in Apollo, they had James Brown in Augusta, they had James Brown and Motown, and he had 4 different outfits on, right? So,
And they still didn't bury him until I think 30 days later or something, because they were going through probate or some issues that they were having.
right, yeah, no, right. So putting the family situation aside, yes, you're right, Lynn. But I'm just saying, it all depends on the individual, and I'm just talking about those who are in the United States. When Michael Jackson died, the whole world, I mean, they had cameras across the globe, Lynn. I mean, when Michael Jackson died, the whole world stopped.
I agree.
Because
right, and Michael Jackson's no world leader. So it really depends on to Michael's point, it really depends on the individual and how we pay those respects, right? When Prince died, that was different, right? I mean, folks in Australia had a purple light on their government building.
My point is, I'm not saying not to acknowledge her. I am not saying that at all. That's not what I'm saying. We can acknowledge her. I don't think we need to acknowledge her for 10 days. I don't think we need to acknowledge her on every station, every channel. And I don't think that we should have downplayed. I don't care. still, we still had over 3,000 people died in 9/11, and she overshadowed it. And I get it. I get it. I'm still showing respect. I get it. I'm with you 100%. I just think that sometimes we need to clean up our backyard a little bit better than somebody else.
But next year, we're gonna have an anniversary for 9/11. We do it every year, especially being prime military. Not every year, September 11th, we still go out there, we lay the stuff out again, and we remember our brothers and sisters we lost 9/11. We're not gonna say, oh yeah, and by the way, the Queen passes day too. That's not gonna happen. So this is a constant that we do to
Yeah, it
support
is.
our ones
You're
that
right.
we did lose.
You're
Her
right.
death is a sadden, but it's not an anniversary for us.
Right.
Right.
And one thing
Next
they
year.
did in London is they canceled a lot of flights so that, you know, the airspace wouldn't have airplanes flying over while the procession was gone. And a lot of people were upset about that, but there was nothing we could do. You know, you couldn't, you know, there was no other flights to rebook you on. They canceled the flights just so that they wouldn't have all that noise while they were going through the procession.
That makes sense.
It's about the respect. Derek just said she was reigning for 70 years.
Right.
And that's 7 decades that she was in charge. Why can't we take one day of not flying so that you can pay respect? Like, I know that she's not the good guy in everybody's story, but still, 70 years?
Yes.
Come on. You will be all right not going on vacation on Thursday. You can get there Friday. Like, you're not gonna lose no sleep about that. Like, you'll probably get your money back and get a free flight for it. So why can't we just stop being so egotistic and selfish as a nation and be the change that we want to see and try to bring the nations back together? Because we already see we have a lot of stuff going on. Why don't we take time to talk about the people that are getting shot and killed over dumb stuff before we start talking about, oh, I can't go travel? Nah, I think our priorities as a nation are just off, and we use excuses to not pay attention to what's important. Because me personally, I don't mind them doing 10 days, because after doing my little research of who she really was, because when I was younger, she was in charge of England, and that's the only one that I know. So I can only speak off of what I know, but from what I see, she deserves that. And anybody who has anything personal against that, that's a personal problem, honestly.
Well, it's my personal problem, and my issue is the 10 days, and it is.
A day, and
it is my personal problem, and you're right. I'm saying 10 days. I don't celebrate. My point is, I agree with everything you're saying, Michael.
Okay, one at a time, because one at a time, you guys are talking over each other. You can't hear me.
But at the end of the day, I'm not here to please anyone. I'm here to speak my point of view, and my point of view is we need to learn how to stop being so selfish and give people the respect. Because when it's our turn, Lord forbid, we're going to want them to stop the airplanes when the pastor's trying to talk about us. We're going to want them to stop the flow of traffic when we're being drove down our street.
They don't even know.
Just like in Pittsburgh, when we just buried my grandfather, they went right around his street. The whole street cleared out. Why? Because of his legacy. He had a church on that street. So I don't care if you're trying to get gas, you're trying to cross the street, move. It's not about you. It's about that person, because this is the last time that you'll see them. So for her family, those 10 days mean something. We don't have a direct tie to it. So it's just, oh, I don't care. It ain't nothing to do with me. I'm still trying to go pay my bills. But to the people that it does matter to, pay respect. And that's all it really is. It's just a matter of Americans are so egotistic that we don't want to have no culture in us. We don't want to learn about why they do it for 10 days, because we can use, all right, bet. Instead of me dying on this day and burying me next day, no, give me 10 days to tell me how much you love me. Tell my body for the last time that you'll see me how much you cared about me. But it just, we're so involved in our own worlds that we don't care about anybody else. And that's why we have people dying over Mayo, dying over this, dying over that, because people don't care about knowing what they're self. And it's just, it's sad. And it's like, we have to change. And if we can be the ones to make the change, why not? You know?
I think the point was that, you know, all the channels in the United States are focused on Queen Elizabeth, but when we have an event where somebody over here passes, are they doing the same with us? No, they're not. all, their channels aren't covered with the memorial services of people who pass over here. And
Get
10
there,
days,
get
that may be their tradition,
Right.
but why does it have to be on our TVs for 10 whole days?
'Cause we have to-
People still have lives that they're living. People are still doing, their things. Like even when they canceled all the flights in London so that they would be able to not have the sound or not have the aircraft fly over while they were doing the procession. I mean, people don't care about that. They care about getting from point A to point B. I paid this money for this ticket. Why is my flight canceled? Is there a flight crew there? Is there an airplane there? Then we need to be on this plane going home or going to do whatever. This is my vacation. I got to get to work. I got to get home. I got a sick cousin. Somebody passed. They don't care about all this. It's like, I paid the money. Then they need to, get me on that plane and get me out of here. So people don't understand all that.
So now you're telling me that pieces of paper money is worth more than someone's 70-year legacy? Or
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's how some people think. That's the mentality of some people.
what priorities are. That's showing that there's a bigger problem. We need to get our priorities in check. If traveling and money and whatnot is more important than someone's legacy, paying respect, because it goes back to the point that, like Derek said, when each one of us has our day, when our maker calls us, we're going to want that same respect, no matter what scale it is. We're all not going to be 70-year world leaders, but we're all going to want that same respect in our own ways.
We're not even going to know.
But my thing is to the people
give
that
me my respect while I'm alive. How many you love me while I'm alive? Give me my flowers while I'm alive. We're not going to know when we're in
that will know, and that it matters to. They're not going to, even if one person shows up to your funeral, that one person should still have that respect of no distractions while they pay their respects.
Yeah, and I think there's
you want to wrap it up on this one for us?
And I think there's another dimension, right? So I've been stationed overseas, and their control overseas is very different than ours. In other words, if you're in Italy, Lynn, for example,
yeah,
they will only televise certain programming from the United States, because a lot of countries overseas feel they don't want the same kind of democracy that we have. They want to be able to control their citizens. And so if you go back to about 25 years ago, you all may recall over in Egypt and Tunisia, when they first introduced cable television. Now, we've had cable television for a long time, but it was brand new in Egypt and Tunisia. And they had one of our programming, and the women said, why can't we do what Americans are doing? They don't want to be dressed in all this stuff from their head to their toe. They want to be able to put on jeans. They want to be able, they want to have freedom. It really came down to freedom. And so a lot of our programming in the United States really pushed freedom. Freedom who you love, freedom who you date, freedom what you do. If you want to be a rapper or an actor, that is all freedom. So when people say democracy, I don't want us to get this twisted. It's not really democracy that they want. They really want freedom. They want to have the ability, right? That's one of the conversations we're having right now for women. Women are saying, I don't care if you're Republican, Independent, or Democrat, we don't want men dictating control over our body.
Right.
Period. End of story. This doesn't have nothing to do with religion. This ain't got. They want freedom over their body. No different than the freedom that Mike and I enjoy. You don't find legislation that's trying to dictate a man's body like they're doing a woman's body. And so countries overseas, they figure by limiting what their citizens are exposed to when it comes down to the United States and programming, they want to control that. And so if you're in Russia, you are darn sure not going to see a lot of programming from the United States. If you're in China, you're darn sure not going to see a lot of programming from the United States. And there are a host of other countries, but so there's other aspects, Lynn, to this point that we got to take into aspect on the point that you're raising. How much are they revering us when someone of our magnitude pass away? Are they giving us the same level of respect? And it goes beyond the control of the citizens. Whereas in the United States, we as government, both at the federal and state, we're not trying to control what our citizens are seeing or not. In fact, we give you 1,000 channels to see whatever you want to see, whatever music you want to listen to, and you have the ability to exercise that freedom. We call it democracy.
That is true, but that is their business. That's their business. I get it. I know what you're saying. I get it. If they can only watch one channel, that's their business. Okay. We're the land of the free. We can watch a million. We can watch whatever we want. We do whatever we want. I get that. I'm not trying to downplay the Queen's death. It's on my TV now. Okay. My point is, I mean, literally, her face is, I'm looking at her up at my TV. My point is, they don't do the same for us when stuff like this happens. And I understand, but it's a choice that they have, not from the people, not from us, or from the, I don't want to say the small people, the citizens. But if they're told, listen, you only can watch, I think that's even in China, they can't even do Facebook or something. I know they had an issue a while ago. They can't do it. But that's their laws and that's their business. I don't live in China. I don't live in England. I live in America. Okay. My point is, I should not, and it's just my little opinion, just in the corner here. But at the same time, I don't think we need to do 10 days of the Queen, 24 hours. Rest in peace to her.
I don't.
She had 70 years. Okay. She had 70 years reigning. Okay. I consider my birthday a national holiday too sometimes. Okay. I have 50 years too. My point is, I'm not downplaying myself either. When I die, I'm not going to even know I'm dead and what y'all doing for me when I'm here. Okay. But I just feel like if I want to watch The Young and the Restless, and I don't watch it, I'm at work. If I want to watch what I want to watch, I don't think every channel, and I don't think they should have downplayed 9/11. That's just my personal opinion. And I feel that they did an injustice to them this year. And I understand it's an anniversary, but I just don't think they did them right this year, or anybody's right to watch whatever they want to watch, because you can flip the channel now and it's still showing the Queen today. So that's my personal opinion. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I think that we just are doing a little bit too much in the United States right now.
And some of it is timing too, right? If she would have passed away last month,
it would be a different story.
It would be a different story. You would not have that same response.
She'll be on TV for 10 days.
It's just ironic that it happened.
She'll be on TV for 10 days.
But you know what too? If anybody during these 10 days, anyone who's passed on these 10 days, it's like, you hear a little bit about it and that's it. Because somebody famous did pass.
Yes, P&B Rock, rest his soul. He was at a restaurant with his girlfriend. His girlfriend put the location online. Some robbers came up and they took his jewelry, chains. He tried to fight back. They shot and killed him. No one's talking about that though.
Yeah, but there's somebody else that passed too. Just a couple of days ago. I think it was a Black man. I forget what his name is, but he was popular in the entertainment world. So it's like, they're not being recognized, because you'll hear about it probably at an award show or something. You'll be like, when did he pass? But yeah, somebody else did pass. So when you have
Landria or Moon Landria or
no, I forget the gentleman's
name. But the thing is, Jacqueline, so let's say, for example, and you are the executive producer of Our Point of View. And when we have a meeting, you're deciding what should be discussed or not. And when you only have 60 minutes, only certain things that you want to get out to your viewership that you're selecting, saying, listen, we can't cover every aspect on every headlines that's in the newspaper, but here are the 2 or 3 or 4 things, whatever you and the team decide, and we're going to discuss that. And so this is no different. I mean, I get Lynn's point, absolutely, but I just want to make sure that when we look at the entire framework, right? Like, for example, just yesterday, I learned that 75% of our citizens in the United States cannot name 3 branches of government. 75% of our citizens cannot name the 3 branches of government in the United States, and 25% can name at least 1 branch of government in the United States. Now, if I was being interviewed by that journalist that said this on NBC News, I would say the reason why, don't blame our citizens for the results of that survey. I would blame the education system for removing Civics 101 out of the curriculum in our grade school.
Exactly.
I would blame the superintendents. I would blame, you see what I'm saying? And so it's how we frame it, Seneda, how we frame it. Just like those of us who served in the military, you can't tell us not to recognize 9/11 and Veterans Day and Memorial Day. We'll do it regardless if they got programming on television or not, right? And then those who support military families like Jacqueline and like Michael, y'all there with us. But that's not the entire population of our citizenry, right? And so that's the reason why the United States is so different than any other country. I mean, we are fighting against ourselves at times. And so I understand, when you say, how much is too much, then somebody gonna say, man, Mike, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. You shouldn't have the ability and the right to be able to express yourself on social media. Well, it's Michael's right. So no one else should take that right away because they feel that Michael should not have that right because of the color of his skin, right? Or women should not have freedom over their body because of their gender. God gave you all the ability to keep our society going. And so you should have the freedom and the right to make that decision over your anatomy, not government, and certainly not men. And so I'm just saying, in the United States, we have a dynamic shift that's happening where some folks believe that some folks should not have the right to the freedom and the choice and the ability to garner the quality of life that America should be able to afford everyone, regardless of their gender, regardless of their pigmentation of their skin.
And with that being said, we're going to move to our next topic, which is the political arena. Derek, your expertise. We're going to talk. One thing we want to talk about is the student loan forgiveness. And being that it's coming from the political arena, can you explain it? What exactly is it? Because I mean, I have questions about it, because one of my questions is, are they talking about $10,000 per person who has a student loan, or $10,000 per student loan? Does that make sense? Like if you have 4 student loans, do you get $10,000 off of each one of them, or is it $10,000 per person and you put it on the student loans how you whatever?
So the short answer
Let's
is,
talk about the political arena with that.
right. So the short answer is per person. but it's not just $10,000. You could qualify up to
20.
20,000.
Right.
Right. So listen, we all know that the cost of tuition continues to increase year after year after year. And unfortunately, economics play a role in the ability to access higher learning, period, end of story. If everyone can afford to go to Howard University, they will go. But it comes down to an affordability issue where if you can't spend the $60,000 a year to attend Howard University, you won't go. You can have a 4.0 GPA, you can have all those things, but if you can't afford it, it's just like anything else. We will all love to have a Rolls Royce. Now, you may not, but I do. Right. So let me just speak for Derek.
I know.
I would love to have a Rolls Royce. I'm a big fan of exotic cars, Michael.
You and I both, sir. Give me a raise. I'm good, man.
But I can't afford a Rolls Royce. I think it's a nice high-end quality. When you see a Rolls Royce, you know, Michael, it's a Rolls Royce. When you see a Lamborghini or Ferrari. Now somebody that's watching our point of view right now, Sonata, they saying, Derek, I have a Volkswagen and I know my Volkswagen. Cool, right? I ain't knocking Volkswagen. I'm just saying for me. But it comes down to an affordability land. And so what happened is the federal government is listening, but I don't think the listening went far enough. I just think that 10,000 or 20,000 was not enough, y'all. When PPP, folks getting PPP loans for millions of dollars and they don't have to pay it back. And those same folks, let me just, calm down for a second because you're about to get me going, Jacqueline. Those same folks that got PPP loans, Michael,
yeah,
and they're being told they don't have to pay it back. Can you imagine the government gave you a PPP loan for $800,000 land and say you don't have to pay it back?
And then
$800,000.
My business not being legitimate either in certain
Right.
cases.
Oh yeah. Wink, wink. Okay. Or Jacqueline, or someone says you got your own small business, Jacqueline, and that 1.7 million PPP loans, you don't have to pay it back. But those same individuals are complaining, Michael, about the $10,000 and the $20,000 for the loan forgiveness for student loans.
Mm.
And so I just think it's incredulous for those individuals to speak ill of what President Biden did. And again, I don't think they went far enough, right? Because when you look at tax credits and when you look at, the previous president in his first year passed a tax credit of $1.7 trillion. Okay, let this marinate for a second, y'all.
Really?
1.7 trillion, not billion, too small, trillion dollars.
Too small.
1.7. Now, that 1.7 trillion, Michael, went to the top 1%ers.
Yes, it did.
And think about this. Can you imagine all of our families who are listening to our point of view, even would have received 1% of that?
No.
Right? So we can't even talk about reparations, y'all. We can't talk about anything that's going to help improve the quality of life or help foster small entrepreneurs like you, Michael, start your business, right? Can you imagine getting a $250,000 loan from SBA and somebody tell you it's forgiven, right? And so I just find it amazing that those individuals that receive hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, billions of dollars Elon Musk, right? I'm talking to you, Elon Musk, that received $5 billion from the federal government, Elon Musk. Now you're the world richest man. Okay. You don't cast shade on a loan forgiveness for $10,000 or $20,000. Right? And so we can talk about the details, Jacqueline, but from a high level, I always like to, y'all know me, I like to keep things in perspective, right? A little bit of help is better than no help at all.
True.
And so that 10,000, 20,000, was it enough? In Derek Jackson's humble opinion, no, right? My daughter graduated from Meharry Medical College, and it is a $470,000 loan.
Ouch.
470. Now, if I receive a letter saying we're going to, she don't have to pay that $470,000. I'll be dancing on this desk. My good friend will get upset, but I'll be dancing on this desk, right? And so 10,000, 20,000, it ain't gonna even scratch a dent, but it is per person, Jacqueline, and it's not far enough. And I think we can do more, but something is better than nothing. And y'all know I hate that phrase because it's kibbles and bits. Because when it was time to pass out PPP loans and folks were getting tons of money, and the federal government said they're forgiven.
Yep.
Because they're trying to give you money to build your business so that you can make money to pay your student loans off. I mean, they let you put them in deferment. I mean, like, look, what you gonna do?
Yeah, but the problem is it's deferred.
It's deferred. Deferment means just moving it on down the line.
Yeah, you don't have to pay it. You don't have to pay it now, but you don't have to pay it eventually.
But it's not like they're every day, oh, we're gonna garnish your wages if you don't pay your student loans. Well, I'm not gonna say that on here, but it just I feel like they're doing their best because there's a lot of people that are in debt. And the reason why, let's be real, the reason why they gave these big companies a lot more money than the little ones is because they're creating jobs so that they need the money. They're actually using it to put into other people's houses. Just because Elon Musk didn't say, all right, you get 1,000, you get 1,000. No, you get a job, you get a job. So now I have a budget to pay you because I have a salary. Now I got $50,000 to give you to do this job for me. So now you can earn your money.
People don't. Small business owners. What about the small business owners?
There are small business owners that got loans that qualify. If you qualified, you got a loan. Like whether
it sounds like you're saying they gave this money to all these, big corporations so they could hire more employees. That'll help with the employees. But what about the ones who have their businesses out of their homes? They're selling things from out of their homes, or they have hair salons and barber shops and
sure.
I mean, they're small business. They can't afford to have 3 and 4 employees. What about them?
I'm pretty sure that if the small businesses that don't have employees set up all of their paperwork right and they had all of their documentation look like right and legit, they got what they qualify for. It's all about what you qualify for. Just because you don't qualify for 1 billion doesn't mean you won't qualify for 10,000 or for 100,000. People have to stop looking at the next man and what they qualify for and worry about yourself. Because most of the people that got the money, they don't even know what they would do with it if they did get $1 billion. You'll probably blow it on something that is not business related. So it's just like, it's all about the mindset. You gotta realize we live in a world where you're not going to get something that you mentally cannot handle. The world's not going to give it to you and God's not going to give it to you. So if you want bigger money, you have to have a bigger mindset. Just like what you did, you said a Rolls Royce is too expensive. To who? I can afford a Rolls Royce. My mindset says I can afford whatever I put my mind to. It just...
that listen, my mindset says Rolls Royce. I just can't afford it yet.
Right. Yo, dividend from Tesla not coming in yet, but when they start coming in, your Bentley and your Rolls Royce gonna be right beside each other. It just when it's time, you're gonna know because God gonna say Bing, Rolls Royce. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You just gotta
But
be
trickle down economics, though, it really it's a false philosophy that started with Ronald Reagan back in the early 80s. And those dollars, to be honest, those dollars do not precipitate down to their employees.
right.
We watch during the pandemic, CEOs and chairs of major corporations, their compensation package jumped 400%. 400%. Whereas the baseline employee, their compensation may have jumped 3 to 4%. In the state of Georgia, our minimum wage is $5.15. You cannot afford a 1-bedroom studio apartment on a $5.15 minimum wage.
Can't afford a cardboard box with that.
Right. And so, right. And so what folks are talking about, they're saying, well, inflation. Well, inflation has been with us every day since I've been alive.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We all know that when I was a little boy going to a convenience store up in New York, the price of bread may have been a quarter when I was 7 or 8 years old, right? And so that's like 50 years ago, right? And so inflation has been with us every day, every year. It's nothing new, right? The price of living goes up, right? Burial, when I buried my mother, it cost me almost $20,000 to bury her, right? And so that little insurance that she took out 70 years ago, 70 years plus, and they said back then, oh, you only gonna need $5,000. $5,000, y'all. So it quadrupled from the time they told my mother that fable many eons ago. And so you get this little insurance policy for $5,000, like, and then you can't put your loved one in the ground until you pay it off.
Oh, you got to pay it all. No loans, no layaway.
There ain't no blue light special. There's no layaway plan.
No.
Right? Now, for those of us that served in the military, we're given, free burial at a memorial cemetery like Arlington or even state memorials, right? But still, for the average family that may not have access to that, you're talking about $20,000 to bury someone. And so inflation has been with us, right? When I first started driving, my first vehicle, Michael, was a 1974 Chevy Vega. I can fill it up for $1. Okay? But them days are gone.
Way
right?
gone, never coming back.
They're not coming back. And so for our minimum wage here in Georgia to be $5.15, or even the federal government minimum wage being $7.25, it's incredulous, right? You can't, y'all, please tell me I'm humble enough to eat some humble pie. Y'all tell me who is living off of $7.25 minimum wage?
Nobody.
At all.
That's for high school students.
It ain't even for them. They can't even afford it.
Yeah. It's just to buy school supplies.
Right? And so this is the reason why we have to vote This is the reason why we have to get the right individuals into office. This is the reason why it's important for us to exercise that right to vote, because we very well can wake up one day and someone say, you can no longer vote. And the very first population of folks that it will hurt and hit the hardest will be African Americans, Blacks, us, right? Because we were never thought of from the beginning of this country. To go back to our conversation about the monarch, when they set sail and came over to this new country, right? Formed this new country, and they formed this constitution. We were looked upon as 2/3 of a person. Now, I don't know of any 2/3 of a person walking around and breathing, right? But it was a system that was negotiated upon the early framers, because part of them wanted an electoral college system, so where they can be able to dictate and control who becomes the president. And then another part of them want simple majority, right? And so the best way they can mitigate that conversation back in the 1700s was, okay, we're going to moderate this by only the president, the office of the president will be determined by the electoral college. Everyone else will have a popular vote, right? And that was their way of reaching an agreement. And then when they said, okay, let's look at who can vote, it was white men who had money, farmers. And that's the reason why it ended up on Tuesday, because on Tuesdays was the time they brought their fruits and vegetables and everything that their farm produced into town, right? But we can switch that today if we got the right people in office to say, we don't need to vote on Tuesday. We can make it a national holiday, put it on the first Saturday on November, right? You know, that's part of freedom. But freedom comes with a price. And that price, as the late John Lewis stated, is the currency is voting. And so that's why this year and every year that ballot box is open, that we need to be able to exercise our right by way of voting. Because I don't care if you are a millionaire, thousandaire, or billionaire, we all get that one vote. And it's up to us to exercise our voice and our power through the vote.
Right.
So true. So true. Well, guys, we have come to an end of another show of season 9, the first episode. And these were conversations that could have gone on forever, you know, and they may wind up, you know, they're going to continue on, and hopefully they'll continue on in the communities, in their households, so people can learn more about the student loan forgiveness. They can learn more about voting, and then we can learn more, you know, about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth, and then also about, you know, 911, our our history. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank you guys for coming out, hanging out at Our Point of View Talk Show here on Facebook Live. And just remember that everything you heard and everything we said was our point of view. So don't get mad at us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.